Hey, Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps with Fight Hub TV, powered by Stagefront VIP, and I'm joined now again with Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie, it's good to see you here at the Smith-Eubank rematch weigh-in. Before we obviously get on to a little bit about that, I do want to ask you what your thoughts are on Errol Spence Jr. Activating his rematch clause against Terence Crawford.
For me, I was never crazy about these rematch clauses automatically being imposed in the contract. You kind of get it when the champion gives the challenger a voluntary title shot. We started seeing this probably in the last 30, maybe 35 years. Before that, the fights just happened, right? Then, and you can't activate the rematch clause with a mandatory, because the fighter has to get a title shot regardless of whether he's going to get a rematch or not. But now you're starting to see there's new trend where guys are signing 2-fight deals. So there's a rematch clause for both guys. And so whether you win or whether you lose, you're going to fight twice, and you're just going to basically steal people's money, even if the first fight sucks and you don't want to watch it. And for me, you just keep sinking down the same dirty hole that keep putting boxing in more and more of a dirty place, where you can't definitively decide on a rematch until you have the first fight settled and you realize that it will sell in a rematch. Now you're getting fights that deserve rematches, say like Haney and Lomachenko, that don't get rematches, but then you get fights that nobody cares about a rematch because they were one-sided and boring ultimately, like Spence and Crawford, where it was one-sided and non-competitive, and you're gonna get that rematch. Or you're gonna have a guy. There's talk of Wilder and Joshua also signing a 2-fight deal. First we would have to see if the first fight is a fight worth watching again. And so in this particular situation, I really have no interest in the rematch. The first fight decided it for me. I don't have no cares in the world for the rematch. I don't want to see it. They'll make it, and they'll do what they want to do. I mean, it's not up to me, but personally, I don't care for that rematch. No.
I haven't seen that it's officially been announced for 154, but given that Errol has put on his Instagram that he's now fighting. In the bio, he says he's now a 154-pounder. You don't see it being any different with that new weight?
I was told from through the grapevine, even. Sorry. I was told through a grapevine even before the first fight that they had done a 2-fight deal, and the second fight was going to be at 154. So the fact that this fight was at 150 would be at 154 is not surprising me, because I heard this was the case they signed even before this fight. Now that it seems like that's the direction we're going, it makes sense. I mean, Errol was barely making weight to begin with, right? So it makes sense. But again, I just don't see anything different. I mean, it was very clear that Terence can hurt Errol. That was what I was more banking on, the fact that Errol fights at a pace, and an ex-lightweight like Terence wouldn't be able to hurt Errol and stop that pace. I was wrong. Terence can clearly hurt Errol, and so Errol, for me, I didn't see even an attempt at an adjustment. Errol has to come forward to beat you and mow you down. If he starts going backwards, he's out of ideas. He can't fight going backwards. And once he started going backwards in that first fight, essentially the competitive aspect of the fight was over. I don't know what he's going to do in terms of being more deceptive and coming forward that he didn't show us the first time. But that he hasn't showed us his whole career. There's not enough deception. I mean, Terence is very, very deceptive, and he can hurt you. Obviously, now we've seen it. So I just don't see anything else happening besides the same result.
Terence Crawford obviously wants the winner of Canelo versus Charlo. Just your thoughts are on Charlo moving up to face Canelo.
I think Charlo is a great athlete, and the Charlo brothers themselves, I think, are terrific athletes and terrific fighters. They have a lot of potential, even star potential. I think they have a personality. I've always felt they've had a personality that, if taken advantage of, could make them into stars. I don't know if it's ever been completely taken advantage of. I know they've been paid well, but I don't know if it's ever completely been taken advantage of as far as putting them on that kind of platform the way they could have been. I mean, Jermell himself has himself to blame. He hasn't fought in 2 years. But Jermell has done a lot of work towards this, and I think this is the culmination of a lot of work. It's a very, very big opportunity, but jumping up 2 weight classes is very, very difficult all at once. And also, Jermell has a habit a little bit of kind of getting wild with his combinations. He'll close the gap very smoothly, but then he'll kind of overextend his combinations and just, get a little bit wild. We saw it in the Castano fights, and he was getting himself caught. Tony Harrison was able to take advantage of it in spots with little pot shots in between. And really, that's kind of dangerous if you fall into that habit against Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo Alvarez is not the most defensively adept fighter, but he's very good at understanding positioning and holding his ground and kind of making you pay right from where he's at if you overcommit. And that's where Jermell has to fight a very, very disciplined fight. I think Canelo has the advantage, both for the reason that I haven't seen Jermell fight in this kind of disciplined manner yet, again, at this level. And he's still a world-class fighter, and also, despite that, 2 weight classes up. I mean, if you pay, you're going to be paying heavily with a guy 2 weight classes up.
We've also seen people in the past regret making that decision, regret going up 2 weight classes to make a fight.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it goes both ways. I mean, I can remember back when Shane Mosley did it against Oscar De La Hoya, right? Went from 135 to 147. I mean, granted, he ended up getting caught on Balco and the steroids, but whatever. I mean, we're not going to leave that out there. The fact that weight classes don't matter anymore, we're going to leave that part out there because nobody wants to hear actually the truth. So we're just going to have the pretend conversation, and we're going to say who would win and what would win and why they wouldn't win. So in continuing with this pretend conversation, you see it. Some guys end up regretting it. Some guys succeed, and there's always a risk with it. You know, there is definitively a risk with it. But I think when you're being compensated, and the way Jermell is going to be compensated, and also the risk-reward factor, there's so much reward there if you can top a guy like Canelo. I guess you have no choice but to take it, really.
Lastly, I want to ask you, what should be next for Gervonta Davis? What would you like to see?
The things I'd like to see probably aren't allowed on the political spectrum, right? I'd like to see Gervonta against a guy like SHAKUR Stevenson, for example. You know, I don't think that fight's going to happen due to the promotional battles. Honestly, I doubt that fight would happen even if it wasn't for the promotional battles, because I think SHAKUR is a better fighter, even though Gervonta is a very good fighter. But I think Gervonta is a bigger star. So I don't. Even if there was no promotional barriers, I don't know that Gervonta's team would risk that kind of star against a guy who's probably a lesser star at the moment, but might be better than him. You know, so I mean, people play chess, not checkers, even outside the ring, unfortunately. And fortunately for the fighters, business-wise, but unfortunately for the fans. So that's the fight I'd really love to see down there for Gervonta. We're probably not going to see it, but we'll see. I mean, Isaac Cruz was a decently competitive fight. I know there's talk about a rematch happening. I wouldn't mind seeing Cruz against a guy like Gervonta. I think Cruz is going to always have a little bit of kryptonite against guys with quick legs and are faster. Gervonta's got quick legs, but he's a little bit more planted nonetheless. So I think Cruz can give some problems. Ultimately, Gervonta beat him with his boxing, not with his punching. But you know what? I wouldn't mind that rematch ultimately if that's what we have to get. You know, it's certainly better than certain other fights that we've gotten when Gervonta's opponents. You know,
even SHAKUR and Haney.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's another fight that, they'll talk about it, but there's a lot of barriers that get in the way. It'd be a cool fight. I don't know that I don't know that Haney's going to come back to 135 anyway, though, to be honest. So I mean, that's a lot of talk. But Haney seems like a big 135, and I don't know that we'd see him at 135. And I don't know that SHAKUR is in the biggest rush to go to 140 yet. So I mean,
I'd like to see Haney and Teofimo.
I'd like to see Haney and Teofimo. I don't know if Haney wants to see Haney and Teofimo, but I think I'd like to see Haney and Teofimo, sure. But I don't know that we're going to get that either. But you know what? Right now, let's just take what we got, right? We got possibly Haney and Prograis. Listen, Prograis a world champion, so if Haney can win that title, again, chess not checkers, you can get the aging world champion, but he's still a good fighter. Prograis still a top-level fighter. So if you're able to get that win, you're playing chess not checkers, and you're getting a world title at 140. And then you can kind of maneuver at 140 with a little bit more leverage because you've had an undisputed lightweight title and you're a world champion at 140. But let's see first if he beats Prograis. That'd be a good fight.
Paulie, what do you think of Haney saying that he finds Prograis to be a better fighter than Teofimo Lopez?
I think that's, I think the Haney's are very good at manipulating the media and with the certain quotes, certain things. I think that's a skill, that's a talent. But I don't think he even believes that, if I'm really honest with myself. If that was the case, he would fight Teofimo Lopez. He wouldn't fight Regis Prograis. So if they really believe that, because if you look at the way their trajectory went in the lightweight division, there were guys hovering around that were dangerous on their way up, like a Richard Comeys, for example, and things like that. And instead, they fought 100-year-old Yuriorkis Gamboas and 100-year-old Jorge Linares instead. So I mean, I think I don't even think they believe that, because if they did believe that, their trajectory, the way they've moved their career, they would actually fight the easier opponent with a big name instead of fighting the tougher opponent with a big name. And so for that reason, I think the reason they're fighting Regis is because they feel that he's aging, and that's normal. I don't even have a fault with that. I think that's the way you go about your business. You first grab a world title, and then you take the risks later on, right? So Haney has just arrived at a scene at 140. You try to grab a world title, and you try to grab that in the best way possible for yourself. And I don't think Regis is a gimme, but I think Regis is an easier fight to fight at this moment in time than a Teofimo Lopez, who's hungry, who's very unorthodox, very skilled, and very strong.
Well, Paulie, thank you for your time again. I appreciate it as always. And let's see what happens today at the weigh-in.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this and the fight tomorrow. We'll see.
All right, thank you. Bye, Fight fans.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Hub TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Hub TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.